Violent video games not only glorifying gun violence also encourages a participatory acceptance. The player is not simply being exposed to violence, but is participating in this violence. A New York Times article by Barry Meyer and Andrew Martin, published on December 24th, 2012, uh, cites that video games such as Medal of Honor and Call of Duty are forming mutually beneficial relationships with gun manufacturers by combining markets. Medal of Honor, the Medal of Honor website has lines to marketing partners and their sites, such as the Macmillan Group, as well as Bushmaster and Glock. These are all manufacturers of high powered sniper rifles, assault rifles, pistols, as well as other forms of military style uh, gear and weaponry. One gamer actually described it as a virtual showroom for guns. This is all accessible from the Medal of Honor website. So gamers coming here to look at Medal of Honor material who may just simply be interested in learning more about the game uh, will be exposed to websites that further that expose them to guns as well. Um, the use of these actual real world weapons within video games themselves also lends aid to increased consumerism in regards to assault style weaponry. This may not have existed otherwise. A Bushmaster assault rifle, which is present in Call of Duty Modern Warfare as well as Medal of Honor, was the weapon used by the Sandy Hook shooter. Well, one of the weapons. I believe there is also a Glock used, which is also a weapon involved in Medal of Honor and Call of Duty franchises. These war simulation video games also have a propagandizing effect in the recruitment of young adults into the armed forces. While enlistment in itself into the military is not a negative impact, the reasoning behind this enlistment should be cited and should not be based upon a person's wish to carry on activities experienced virtually via video games and into the real world. Enlistment should be an educated decision motivated by realistic goals and desires, not an impulsive action based on virtual fantasy. Gun violence in video games is not strictly military either. Games like Hitman and Red Dead Redemption propagate vigilantism and center around the use of guns to achieve civic goals in a non-battlefield setting. The amount of death and also the amount of death involved in these games, both military and non-military, produces a devaluation in regards to human lives. Thousands. I've played Call of Duty. I've played all of these games. Through the course of maybe an hour of play, you probably virtually end the lives of close to 1,000 people. A study conducted in 2011 by psychologists Christopher Engelhardt, Bruce Bartholow, Jeffrey Kerr, and Brad Bushman, which was published in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology, which is a peer-reviewed journal, suggests that violence in media, such as video games, can have a desensitizing effect on individuals in regards to violence. It also suggests, as my other cited studies, that they also serve to increase levels of aggression in those who are exposed to higher levels of violence in video games. This empirically supports my earlier claims as to the devaluing effect violent video games have on human lives. These arguments further emphasize the necessity for a realistic ban on violent video games which glorify gun violence and the human toll with which it is associated.